Welcome to Marriage Now What? Today we have Bennie Calloway with us, and the last time we had him in with us, he was talking to us about the passing of his late wife, Tan. He gave us a one-on-one story about how he's processing everything that he's going through, and just this past week, he honored her 1-year anniversary of her passing away. So, we're back. Welcome, Bennie.
Thank you. Good to be back.
Glad to have you back. And we just wanted to check in and see how you are now, how life looks now, how things have changed, how the 1-year anniversary of her passing affected you and your girls, and what the future looks like. So I'm just going to let you fill us in on all the gaps for a little bit.
Okay. Well, first of all, it's really hard to believe it's been a year. It's really gone by fast. Of course, some days were slower and longer than others. Some days just went by pretty rapidly. But however, a year is a year. And at this point, it helps me to, focus more on moving ahead and trying to find more ways on how to live, just still embracing that reality that she won't be returning in this realm, and that there are no do-overs. Even though we had a great marriage for nearly 24 years, and this month would have been our 25th anniversary, our 7th anniversary. And we had even talked about renewing our vows at 25. So that was one of the goals that we had, for this year. But however, the memories, the good times, I often think about, they cross my mind, and sometimes it's hard to function without just being able to remember those things, because she was so much a part of my life, over half of my life. But it also helps me to focus on life ahead, because she was a person that just lived life to the fullest, gave her absolute all. And I'm sure that if she was somewhere whispering in my ear, she would encourage me to do the same thing, and not, allow my life to stop and to spiral down to a place where I don't need to be, but that I would need to, move forward and live the best possible life that I could live at this stage, given the circumstance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have things changed? How are you feeling?
Things have improved some. Of course, I would say the majority of that year has been difficult in dealing with the loneliness and lacking the companionship that I was so used to having, and how we literally talked about everything, and how it's kind of like the expression, old habits die hard. When something exciting happens, or something that I just want to make her aware of that I found out, I often think about calling her, on the way home, letting her know I'm on my way home, or, something exciting that may have happened, during the course of the day, and not having her to talk to about that can make it, challenging in some respects. And of course, there are friends and relatives and colleagues, people that I can reach out to, but of course it's just not, the same. But I have, I've had a good support system with friends and family members that have, done their best, to check on me and see how I am, even though they, have busy lives, themselves. But I would say from an emotional standpoint that I'm a lot better, than I, had been. I'm beginning to find, my strength, coming back. I'm still busy with duties, responsibilities with these two teenage girls, and still working in ministry. I've been working on a counseling degree for the past year, and just working on some other projects. So I'm, staying busy and staying occupied. But at every phase and stage of when good things are happening, it's like I just want to keep her updated, on what's going on. So, that has been a challenge. If she could know or would know, about what's taking place. And then I think about it. I just wonder sometimes, is she aware, of what's taking place, and, how we're doing and how we're managing. And I'm also doing my best to, focus on the girls' emotional standpoint of all of this, that is still, greatly challenging, for them, and engaging them in conversation, and then allowing them to have their time to themselves. And then when those spells come, when they just feel like talking, feel like opening up, I try to make sure that I lend my ears, to listen to what they have to say. So I'm improving, and things are getting better. I just hope that the girls, that their development and healing will continue to take place as well. Yeah.
And it will. Thankfully, you have time on your side, and it sounds like you're very attentive to what their emotional needs are, and it will with time. So what would you say out of this past year has been the biggest change for you personally? Like having to go through this process of grieving and of growing in a different direction now. What's been the most challenging part?
I think first of all is really being honest about how I feel, and I use my prayer time and my meditation time, to just really open up my heart to the Lord about how I'm feeling, and no longer being embarrassed or ashamed if I have pain, or if I'm lonely, or if I desire to talk with somebody, or desire companionship, or whatever it is that I feel like I need at that time. I recognize the need to just be more open and more honest, which has been a challenge, because sometimes I may find myself pulling back if I want to call somebody and just open up about what I'm dealing with at the time. I'm more concerned about whether they will be interested, or whether they want to hear it that day. And sometimes I need somebody to vent to about how I'm feeling or what I'm struggling with. And sometimes I find that a challenge, being able to open up, to other people about that. And also, too, I think one of the other challenges that I've had as a father, I think sometimes in society that the father is looked at as the inferior parent, You know, when it comes down to rearing children, especially daughters. And I even had some people to suggest that I should allow other relatives to raise the girls. That, you know, somehow as a man and as a father, that my skills are inferior, or that I don't have the capability, you know, to rear girls. And so I really found that to be, you know, a disappointment, because I've always been present in my girls' lives, always been an involved father. And even with Tan's passing, I mean, I never had any intention of doing anything different. And so what kind of father would I be at this stage to cause somebody else to be responsible, you know, for their well-being? I mean, it would be one thing if I was a deadbeat or never present in their lives, but somehow there has been this perception that that I perhaps may not have the ability to do it. I would rather for that to be my own determination and assessment rather than somebody else's.
Right.
And of course, you know, there are moments that I may not feel capable or confident, but I just rely on the Lord's strength and wisdom, you know, to do the best possible job that I can. And that there are many sons and daughters that have been raised by one parent, whether it be a mother or father. And they've done a tremendous job. So, you know, it just caused me to step up even more to my responsibilities and realize how critical and crucial it is for them to have me in their lives, you know, at this stage. And all I can be is their father. I don't know how to be anything else, you know, but that. So I've found that, you know, to be a challenge, and I do recognize their need for, you know, maternal guidance and wisdom, and they have persons in their lives that fulfill that role, you know, at my discretion. And you know, so the Lord, He's aware of my circumstance. I never imagined that I would have to finish rearing them, you know, the rest of the way. But you know, I'm just relying upon Him, you know, to help me. And you know, it's you know, it's a day by day, you know, experience. You know, some days go well, some days may not go as well. But I don't give up. I keep trying, because this is my duty. This is my responsibility. And my goal is to always be present in their lives. And I know that's what my wife would have wanted. And it's just something that I know that I have to do, even as challenging as it may be and can be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it speaks volumes to the girls, too. Like, they need that steadfastness in their life, especially during this time, you know?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's going to shape them for the rest of their life. And you being a constant, you're doing good.
I appreciate that.
You're doing a great job, Bennie.
That means a lot. I appreciate that.
From the standpoint of being a pastor and a minister for so many years, has this affected your spirituality in any way?
It has.
Has it? Do you want to talk about it? We don't have to.
No, we can. We can. You know, I spent a lot of time praying and thinking and pondering, you know, just about the nature of Tan's death. And of course, when it first happened, there was so many well-meaning spiritual people that said, this is the will of God, this is the will of God, this is the will of God. And then I also battled with the theology that I preached and believed, that God is a divine healer, while at the same time, when a person passes away due to sickness and disease, people say it's the will of God. So which one is it? Is God a divine healer, or is every death, the will of God? So I was theologically neutral at that stage of, really wondering, which one applied, to her situation. There were times that I thought that her death was premature. I often thought that there may have been medical errors, and if that had not been the case, that could have contributed, to her life being prolonged. So there were a lot of factors that came into play that I was often thinking about theologically. So when I went back in the pulpit preaching, when I would be very cautious about preaching and teaching on divine healing. Now, mind you, I've experienced divine healing. The Lord has used me to administer, divine healing to other people. I mean, I know people that have miraculous testimonies where they were divinely healed by God's power. I mean, even in Tan's case, there were times that, docs had given her up to die years before she passed. So, I just draw the conclusion from those two spectrums or philosophy of thought that she did experience divine healing during the course of our marriage, because this period of her illness, it was more extended than it had ever been. But there were times that, she had a lot of health challenges, and it didn't look like, she was going to bounce back, but she did. And when she did, it was as if she was never sick to begin with. So, I just embraced the concept that the Lord did administer divine healing in her life at certain stages. But just to say that it was the will of God, when she passed, that's something that I, that I still battle with. And I think no theology is real theology if it's not honest theology. We have to be honest, with God. Paul said that we are to provide things honest in the sight of all men, that we are not to give a pretense about what we believe, but our belief has to be based on our experience, and that we're still walking through this. We're still growing in this. We don't have a handle on this. I mean, this is not something that we have perfected. Mm-hmm. We grow in grace and in knowledge. Of course, in my ministerial duties, I still had challenges from church leaders who were very insensitive. Of course, where I'm currently serving, I did not take as much time away as I should have, because I felt that with my not having been at the church long, it may have been problematic if I had stayed away longer than I should have. But when I returned, I recognized immediately that I should have stayed away longer, because there were church leaders that were very insensitive, and they felt that because I was present, that I was fully functional, as far as duties and responsibilities were concerned. And I really had to work my way back in, but there was some who just didn't understand that. And so it made the relational part of ministry that much more complicated. It was a miracle just to get there and preach. And when I left and on my way home, I was sad and I was crying again. It was like I was just wanting to get through it, because I knew that I had to. And not all, but I dealt with a selected group of people that were totally insensitive and just didn't seem to understand my personal dynamic. And then to go even further, we all can have a similar experience, but our journey is our own journey.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens so many times when you try to express the challenges and the difficulties of your journey, people will take your situation, then they'll make it about them. Well, I know when I was going through this, but maybe what you went through is not the same as what I'm going through. And so, going back to the pulpit and engaging in ministerial duties, was really a challenge. From a personnel standpoint. And then sometimes people put you on a watch. They say, well, it's been X number of months. It's been a year. He should be okay. He should be doing this. He should be doing that, without them understanding that this is a process.
Right.
And that oftentimes the most insensitive people that exist, who do not make an effort to cater to your needs, once they begin to have an experience, it's going to be so much more severe, because they don't have a heart of compassion. And so it made ministry very difficult. I was really at the point, the first few months after Tan passed, I wanted out, like, indefinitely. Didn't want to do anything, just wanted to regroup and heal. But also understanding responsibilities and just the need to have some activity, some minimum activity, I think, to help me keep my mind occupied. I think that helped me. But from a social standpoint, it wasn't anything for 3 or 4 days to go by and not get a phone call or not just communicate, with somebody during the course of the week. And so my main social activity, I would say the first 7 to 8 months after her passing, my only social activity was being in a corporate worship service on Sunday. And after I was there and did what I had to do, I was ready to get out of there. I mean, quick, fast, and in a hurry. So that was my social life. I worked. I took the girls to school and made sure they got to their practices, games, etc. But my social life for the first 6 or 7 months, sitting in the recliner, watching TV, ordering DoorDash. That was it.
Yeah.
And it was tough. It was like I just want to get through the day. Mm-hmm. I just want to get through the night. And sometimes I would stay up late at night. I said, well, maybe the later I stay up, and I go to bed and wake up, it'll be another day. And I kind of started that process, all over day after day, just wanting to get through it. And I was just amazed that the people that I thought would have understood, would have been sensitive, would have been compassionate, it was almost like they turned into different personalities, as if, everybody goes through, everybody, suffers loss, get over it, get on, with your life. That was a lot of the attitudes of some people that I dealt with. But I'm gonna tell you something that I did. I came to the point that my grief was even magnified by a lot of those extreme social situations, and that there were people that just proved who they were in that situation, because people say, if you need me, call me, or I'm there for you, I'll be by, whatever the case may be. And of course, those are just pleasantries. Mm-hmm. But I came to the point that I went through my phone and I deleted about 50 numbers, just because you can't really miss something you never had. And out of all those numbers that I deleted, I haven't had any of those individuals to make contact with me in an entire year.
Oh my gosh, Benny.
Not in a year. I mean, I'm being perfectly honest. And then there were some people that that tolerated me for Tan's sake. And so now that she's not here anymore, they have really expressed their personal displeasure for me for whatever reasons, that they may have. But this has just been a part of my experience. And that is not to negate, those who have been loving and supportive, because so many have, like you and Ben, and so many others, and they know who they are. But the support was really at a minimum out of all the people that we knew and worked with together in ministry in the community, whatever the case may be. So I've just had a chance to learn, some very valuable lessons, in this process. And some of my dearest and closest friends have been there and supported me without fanfare, without attention, without wanting to be recognized, without wanting their name to be called. And just those few people have really contributed, to my survival and my ability to get through, this dark season. So I definitely don't want to discount, those who have been my greatest, support. I love and I, appreciate all of them. But they have been very few.
Yeah. It sounds like you didn't experience just one death.
I did
through
not.
This last year.
I did not.
Yeah. But tragedy does that. It really sifts out those who are willing to stand by you through pain and discomfort and death, and those who can't handle it, those who aren't your people. You know what I mean? It sounds like you really found out who your people were.
I did. I agree. Tragedy does bring out the best in people and the worst in the people. It's kind of like what Solomon said. I believe it's in Proverbs 17:17. I believe it says, "A friend loves at all times, and a brother is born for adversity." That there are some people that God will bring in your life at certain phases and stages in your life that can help undergird you in difficulty. Because it's easy for people to be there for you when everything is well. But In the most difficult of times. There are people that God raises up that I believe that has the grace and the ability, that knows how to uphold you and help walk you through, difficult seasons, of your life. So I'm grateful, for those individuals, that have. And so it helped me to begin to divert my attention, away from those who were not supportive, and just focus on those who were supportive. Dr. Michael Beckwith, he's the author of the book Spiritual Liberation. He made a statement. He said, where focus goes, energy flows. So I wanted to make sure that I began to redirect my focus, my attention, toward those who were really supportive, really loving, really undergirding. But I still had to get through that place of bewilderment and disappointment of those who suffered from abandonment syndrome. Mm-hmm. So, but I'm appreciative for those who are, still standing with me, praying for me, loving me, checking on me and the girls. And like you said, that filtering process is all a part of shifting and changing of seasons, to refocus on the new life ahead.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
So 12 months went by really fast, but it sounds like it was a really long road for you. What's next? Well,
from a personal and professional standpoint, I am going into my second year of this counseling degree that I'm working on. At the time that I was accepted into the program last year, Tan was in the hospital because she and I had talked about doing work in counseling, or perhaps opening up a facility. She was going to be my office manager, run the office. And but when I got accepted in the program, I wasn't going to enroll. Of course, her being in the hospital, so many things that were going on, I expressed that to her. She told me no. She said, I feel like you still need to go on and do this. So it was her encouragement that pushed me forward, to enter into this program. And so with a year left, my hope is that once I finish, of course, my emphasis is going to be in grief counseling and substance abuse counseling, to really help people in the first 12 to 24 months of their lives after, experiencing loss in their lives, to really find therapeutic strategies to really help, walk them through that process, because so many people don't have anybody there for them. I mean, after the service is over and people leave and go back to their homes and their lives, that's when the real grief and pain begins, because you really don't have time to process it out, because so many people are in your face because they want to fulfill an obligation. Say, yeah, I was there for him when Tan passed, but you were only there that first week. Mm-hmm. But what about the next 12 months, 18 months, even 24 months of walking through that process? So I think this experience has helped me to put in a prevention strategy where myself, as well as so many others, that I can help other people where they won't have to experience what I experienced. but that there are measures that can be taken that can really help walk a person through, consistently. So that's one of the things that I'm working on, and I'm really passionate about really being able to help people and minister to people, when they're in their pain.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that my experience will help me to be more sensitive and more compassionate and be more understanding. So I had a pastor friend of mine that lost his wife maybe about 6 to 8 months after Tan passed away, and I made sure that I check on him consistently, because I'm walking out what he's beginning to walk out, and it just changes your perspective, at least mine, on wanting to be able to help people that have had similar experiences. So that's the thrust of what I'm working on.
Yeah.
And
it's like now you know what they need.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like you have that insight of they need to know somebody's there months and months after this has happened. I mean, I've heard from many people who say exactly what you're saying, that once the service is over, they're left with everything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the most painful part.
Absolutely.
So
and people have no idea, when they're walking away, they, I guess they just assume that everything is just going to start falling in place. But that's when the difficulty begins. I can recall one of my college classmates, he passed away, and I had contact with his wife the first year. Every week she heard from me, through a call, a text, a visit. She and I are still friends today. She's still appreciative of me being there for her, not knowing that one day I would be on that side. And so once she began to date, and she's planning to remarry this fall. And so once a fiance entered into her life, I began to slowly back away to respect, their relationship. I've met him, and, he's a fantastic guy. But it pays to be there for people, when they really need it the most, because, you just don't know when you're going to be on the other side. Mm-hmm. And you're going to need that support and that undergirding. But, I mean, I've been there for people. My nearly 30 years in ministry, in death and with spouses, and have tried to offer my love and support before and after. But this really changes your perspective, and it changes your strategy and your know-how in how to help walk people, through their pain.
I bet.
Yeah, it does. It really does.
So it sounds like things are going to be going really good professionally.
I hope so.
Yeah. You don't have much longer, right?
I have about a year.
1 year left?
Yeah, I have about a year. I'm anticipating that I may be able to, graduate a little early, but I'm really grinding at it to get it done. I actually have till May of next year, but I'm gonna push toward completing the program at least by the end of the year or January. So I have a full dance card, so we'll see how it goes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So personally, what's next?
Personally, well, for one thing, I have been working on my personal health. For one, I've started a vegan diet for the past month. I do it about 4 days a week.
Hey, you got to start somewhere.
Got to ease your way into it. I've actually lost 8 pounds.
That's awesome.
And, of course, I had joined the gym, had a personal trainer since February, and, of course, in March, part of April, due to the pandemic or scamdemic, depending on your position. But I've been working out, 3 days a week, just getting in better shape, just being more conscious of my health and just focusing on, longevity, for the future. So, that's been going well. And I just want to live a long time and be able to, continue to do the things that I do and be effective, in doing that and remain impactful. Of course, during this period, I have also have focused on doing a lot of teachings that I have on YouTube, on my website. I'm doing audio messages, so have been staying busy, doing that as well. So just moving along, just waiting to see how everything unfolds in this country, where we can have more, liberty, to operate and to get out and engage more, as we, possibly can. I think that there are some measures that have been put in place, should have already been in place before the virus broke out. But however, I'm looking forward to going back out to dinner, going to movies, just being able to fully engage. I mean, I have been able to do some things, in a limited fashion. I don't find that my lifestyle has been just severely cramped, but there are some limitations being there. I'm just not a mask man. I mean, I've tried, but I can't breathe with those things.
Yeah.
So I'm just not a mask guy. Of course, when I took my daughter for her doctor's visit, I was actually required to wear one. But rather than that, I mean, I know people have their opinion on it. If you don't wear a mask, you're gonna die. But I mean, I just feel like I feel great. So there are no issues here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely crazy times that we've been living in this year. It's like there's such a part of me that's so ready for the year to be over. Like, I'm so over 2020. But then there's this really strong part of me that's like, something good's going to happen.
I believe that.
You cannot have all of this crap and nothing good grow out of it. You know what I mean? And so I'm trying to keep my focus on that, because it would be easy to just wallow in the anxiety and the depression and the lack of liberty and freedom right now. But there has to be something good that comes.
That's what I anticipate, and that's what helps me to dig my heels in and just do the things that that I know to do to help improve the quality of my life for myself and for my family. And I've just been amazed that I've got friends, family members. I mean, it just seems like their life has exploded, financially, relationally. People are building homes. They're engaged in renovation projects. Some people have leveraged this to be in the best shape of their lives physically. There are people that are just reading more, just building up their intelligence and their knowledge and know-how. So I think in every circumstance that you just have to be able to find a way to leverage it and just to allow it, to work to your advantage. that you create your own circumstance. Don't let the circumstance create you. And of course, there are just some things that we just absolutely cannot do anything about. But whatever it is that's within our control to do to improve the quality of our lives, I think that we ought to do everything that we can to take advantage of it, like you said, without griping, without complaining, without being cynical. But I think it's an opportunity to really make preparation for the good that's going to take place once we get past all of this. So that's kind of the attitude that I embrace in all of this.
Yeah, me too. I've had to really learn that I choose what I'm going to focus on. And it's been a hard lesson learned. Like, I can't sit here and be like, oh, I've rocked this. Nowhere even near it. I've been home with my 3 kids for 2.5, almost 3 months now. I'm not rocking it. But it's like almost to survive, you have to choose, okay, I'm going to focus on this, or I'm going to focus on this, and it's been a hard lesson learned, but good's coming. And it sounds like you have a lot of hope for this next year.
I do.
Sounds exciting.
I have a lot of hope, and just, and anticipate that this season that we're in is going to be more beneficial and profitable in the next season if we can just hold on and ride this thing out. And that is not to negate people that may have passed away or became ill as a result. We pray for their healing. We pray for the comfort of those families who have lost people, as a result. But those of us who remain, we just have to do our absolute best to just, live life to the fullest. So if we remain, I think we have to focus more on the bigger picture and the greater purpose behind why we yet here. And I think that was one of the things that really helped me this past year, that if it was the case that Tan had finished her course on Earth and did everything that she was put here to do, the fact that I remain, I have unfinished business. And I have to see to it that I finish my course, that I do the things that I'm supposed to do to impact the world and impact those that have been called to me, and my being called to them. So I think that's where the focus has to be.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
I appreciate
you having me. It's good to
catch
up.
Oh, absolutely.
We haven't personally had a conversation in a while, but it sounds like good stuff's in store, and I can't wait to hear more in a few months.
Yeah, we'll have to do it again.
Sounds great. Until next time.